This article is stated the New York Giants are starting to regret rejecting Shedeur Sanders after the Jaxson Dart disaster. Now, I wouldn't call it a disaster just yet, but according to these reports, he has been struggling. This article right here, rough day. Funny how selective this video is. 5 of 9 with 2 interceptions today. Yikes. Excitement was high around Jaxson Dart at the Giants camp, but today he suffered a major setback. His numbers were troubling. He just completed 5 of 9 passes through no touchdowns and was intercepted twice. That set off alarm bells for the team in the Big Apple. You got to understand.
What if I told you the New York Giants just made the biggest quarterback blunder since passing on Lamar Jackson? Jaxson Dart was supposed to be their next breakout star, but early reports out of camp? A disaster. Misfires, picks, doubt creeping. In fast. Meanwhile, the guy they could have had, Shedeur Sanders, is lighting up practice fields and silencing every critic who doubted him. So how did the Giants fumble this so badly? And is it already too late to fix it? You ever watch a slow motion train wreck and know exactly when it went off the rails? That's what's happening right now with the New York Giants and Jaxson Dart. Word out of camp? Rough. 5 of 9. 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, and here's the kicker. He's not even going against the first team defense. He's out there, struggling against the 2s and 3s, and still, interceptions, batted passes, missed reads. The alarm bells in New York, they're ringing loud. Meanwhile, the guy the Giants passed on, Shedeur Sanders, is quietly, or maybe not so quietly, dominating his practices. The contrast couldn't be more glaring. The Giants had a shot. They could have had Shedeur, but instead they gambled on Dart, and from the look of it, that bet is already backfiring. Reports from insiders say Dart had what they're calling a rough day. Some are calling it a disaster. I'm not ready to go that far yet, but it's clear he's off to a bad start. 5 completions on 9 attempts, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. That's not just a slump, that's a red flag. And unofficially, he went 6 of 12 with 2 picks during Thursday's practice. A couple passes even got batted down at the line. This isn't some one-off fluke. This is a pattern. One of those interceptions, an underthrown deep sideline route meant for Dewin Felton. Dart didn't get enough on it, and cornerback Trey Hawkins made him pay. The second pick, that one came from undrafted rookie McCurr Page after Dart was flushed out of the pocket. He rolled left, made a throw on the move, and boom, another interception. And let's not forget, this is happening in OTAs. This isn't playoff ball. This isn't a primetime regular season showdown. These are vanilla defenses, basic packages. Guys just learning the system. And Dart is still getting picked apart like it's the Super Bowl. People inside the building are nervous. Brian DeBole especially, because this one falls on him. He pushed for Dart. He backed this move. And now, he's spending extra time behind the scenes, trying to salvage the situation, working overtime with Dart, trying to coach him up, but it's clear, if Dart flames out, it won't just be his career that suffers. DeBole's seat gets hot, fast, because let's not forget, Shedeur Sanders was available. He was right there, and according to reports, he's been going brazy in his own camp. While Dart's struggling to complete passes against third-string defenders, Shedeur is out there stacking highlights, and you have to wonder, what if? But here's where it gets really interesting. You remember all that talk pre-draft, all the whispers about Shedeur being a problem behind the scenes, that infamous interview session where people claimed he bombed? Yeah.
That I hadn't heard of. These are huge factors. So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, hey, why don't you explain them? And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, well, what do you make of this really bad play? And Shedeur said, you know, maybe I'm not the guy for you. That's not the answer. Since there were only 3 or 4 teams in the first round that were going to consider it, now that Pittsburgh apparently has a deal with Aaron Rodgers, so take them out. Another moment, what they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them.
That's how we never saw that footage. It was all hearsay. Meanwhile, Dart was painted as the clean-cut, coachable alternative. Now we're starting to see through the smokescreen, because if we're being honest, this feels like one of those classic NFL misreads. The league has a habit of overthinking talent when personalities get involved. The narrative was that Shedeur and his father, Coach Prime, had too high an opinion of themselves, that they rubbed teams the wrong way. But let's be clear, and when it comes to football ability, Shedeur can ball. One GM reportedly said if he doesn't go by pick 37 or 38, he's now a backup. And that's exactly what happened. Shedeur slid, not because of his tape, but because of perception. Because teams don't want a circus at the backup QB spot. They want someone who blends in with the furniture. Shedeur, he's not furniture. He's the whole living room. Albert Breer even reported that some teams installed intentional mistakes in their combine meetings, just to see if Shedeur would catch them. He didn't, and when called out, he didn't take it well. One team showed him a bad play and asked, "What do you make of this?" His response, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." That's not the answer they wanted to hear. And in a league where backup QBs are expected to keep their heads down, that attitude scared teams off. But let's not pretend Shedeur is the first quarterback with confidence. John Elway had it, Eli Manning had it, Deion Sanders flat out bragged about sandbagging interviews. The difference, those guys had NFL legacies behind them. Shedeur's still building his. And whether it's fair or not, that double standard cost him draft capital. But here's where it all circles back. The Giants were one of the only teams actually interested in him. Early in the process, they were doing their homework. They offered Tennessee 2 first-round picks to move up for Cam Ward. When that didn't work, they pivoted to Jaxson Dart. Not Shedeur, not the guy lighting it up, the guy who's now throwing picks in OTAs and getting outplayed by undrafted defenders. Esiason, a former MVP and current New York radio host, said owners were flat out telling teams, "We're not doing this entitled nonsense." That's what the league thinks of Shedeur? Entitled? Because he knows his value. That's a dangerous mindset, not just because it pushes talent down the board, but because it blinds decision makers from what's really happening on the field. And what's happening now is clear. The Giants may have overthought it. They may have bought into the wrong narrative, because for all the talk about Shedeur being a problem, he's showing up and performing. While the Giants' golden boy is already fighting for his football life before training camp even opens. And again, these aren't the Steelers' defense he's facing. This isn't Micah Parsons coming off the edge. This is vanilla coverage. Basic packages, third-team defenders, and he's throwing picks. So if that's what it looks like now, imagine what happens when the real bullets start flying in preseason games. The media's already starting to turn. Headlines are getting sharper. Fans are asking questions, and in New York, you don't get a long runway. Especially not when the guy you passed on is looking like a future star. The truth is, Shedeur Sanders might have scared some teams off with his confidence, but confidence without production is arrogance. Confidence with production, that's leadership. And right now, he's backing it up. Jaxson Dart, he's playing catch-up, literally and figuratively. And you know what else? It's not just about one bad day, it's the pattern. Because even if Dart improves, that first impression lingers. That doubt starts to live in the back of coaches' minds. And once it's there, it's hard to shake, especially when the guy you passed on keeps making headlines. For the right reasons. Let's be real, the Giants didn't just pass on Shedeur Sanders, they actively rejected him. According to multiple reports, his worst interview during the pre-draft process came with that team, the New York Giants. And it wasn't just awkward, it reportedly turned them off completely. That's not just a missed connection, that's a bridge they blew up before even walking across. And after that, they went all in on Dart, the guy they're now watching struggle against players who might not even make the roster. It's not just bad optics, it's a potential organizational failure in the making. And think about the psychology of it. Dart knows. He's hearing the noise. He knows Shedeur's name is still hovering over his shoulder like a ghost. Every bad throw, every missed read, every interception. It's not just a mistake. It's a reminder. You're the guy they picked instead of Sanders. And in a city like New York, that shadow only grows darker. You know what else? People forget how brutal the Giants' defense was last year. They weren't locking people down. They weren't sending pro bowlers out every week. So even if Dart was facing the starters, it wouldn't exactly be the Legion of Boom, but he's not. He's going against backups and still struggling. And the excuses? Well, they're already getting old. It's just OTAs. It's early. He's learning, sure, but you know who else is learning? Every other rookie QB, and they're not all throwing multiple picks in non-contact practice reps. Vanilla, coverage, no disguises, still turning the ball over. Now let's zoom out for a second. This wasn't just about football. The whole narrative around Shedeur, and let's be honest, his dad Dion too, had teams rattled. The NFL is a copycat league, but it's also a conformist league. Quarterbacks are expected to fit a mold. Quiet, humble, company men. But Shedeur, he's got brand deals, he's got cameras, he's got prime DNA, and that scared people. As if having confidence in yourself and knowing your worth makes you uncoachable. Let's call that what it is. It's bias. And it might have cost the Giants their future, because if Shedeur continues to shine, if he turns into a star, the Giants will never live this down. And it won't just be a bad draft pick, it'll be a what if that haunts the franchise for years. Kind of myths that make their heads and say, we had him and let him go. Let's not forget, this isn't the first time the league did this. Jackson, Rodgers, fell in the draft, wrong, back and see watching stories unfold in real time. And here's what separates the Shedeur situation. He wasn't just passed on, he was evaluated, criticized, and dismissed for reasons that had little to do with football. A bad interview, a missed trick question, a quote that rubbed someone the wrong way. But when the pads are on, when the play breaks down, he makes plays. That's what matters. That's football. Meanwhile, Jaxson Dart is trying to find his footing. He's not out of time yet, but the clock is ticking. And if Brian DeBole can't turn this around quickly, the whole staff might be looking for jobs next year, because you don't whiff on a franchise quarterback and survive. Not in New York. Fans already see it. The media smells blood. The moment Shedeur Sanders steps on an NFL field and lights it up, it's over. That's when the real pressure begins. That's when every throw Dart makes will be measured against the guy the Giants could have had. And let's be real, that's a battle Dart's already losing. And here's the most brutal part. This story isn't finished. It's just beginning. The practices, the preseason snaps, the first few games of the season. Every single moment is a test now. Every drive will be scrutinized. Every interception will be a headline. And every touchdown Shedeur throws somewhere else, it'll be a punch to the gut in East Rutherford. So now the question becomes, can the Giants dig themselves out? Can Dart flip the narrative and prove everyone wrong? Or are we watching the slow burn of yet another first-round bust and the rise of the QB they never should have passed on? That's the tension. That's the drama. That's what makes this story one of the biggest in the NFL right now. And the most ironic part, Shedeur Sanders didn't even have to say a word. He's letting the football talk. And the message is loud and clear. So let me ask you, did the Giants blow it? Is Jaxson Dart already looking like a bust? Or is there still time to rewrite the story? And what about Shedeur Sanders? Was he misunderstood, misjudged? Or is he just that dude waiting to prove everyone wrong on the biggest stage? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is the kind of story that's only going to get bigger. And trust me, we'll be covering every twist and turn right here. If you want the real stories, the ones they try to keep behind closed doors, hit that subscribe button, because when the truth comes out, you'll want to be the first to know.